Intention. We have learned this week that it does require work. We've also learned that the rewards are rich. When we are more deliberate about our decisions, even our daily decisions, our personal satisfaction soars. My next guest says that is especially true in marriage. Today's Studio 5 contributor, Dr. Liz Hale, applies our word of the week to our most important relationship. She's here to share 5 ways to be a more intentional wife. Great to see you, Lizzie. So why is an intentional marriage so crucial?
It is crucial, you know, and what it means is that as married couples, we purposely do things that bring closeness and connection. And an intentional wife has a ton of power. We just don't always realize the power we have, and we don't always use it wisely, sadly. But we're going to start doing that as of today, right? We can create marriage every single day. Most men, they don't fret about the state of their marriage unless something's desperately wrong. But we as women, we tend to already understand that there needs to be an emphasis and a maintenance to marriage. So let's just do what we do best and care for marriage.
That's an interesting point, that it's sort of innate. We
so.
sort of scan the room
Been my experience.
over all kinds of relationships and think, how could I improve, or how could I better it? So you're saying lean into that.
You bet. We bring different strengths.
You subscribe to the saying, happy wife, happy life. In fact, you say we should be intentional as wives, as women, about our own happiness.
Yes, most definitely. And there's a science to this now. The Institute of Family Studies, which is an impressive entity, they studied 722 seasoned couples, right, who've been married 40 years or more. It turns out that a man's happiness is heavily based on a woman's happiness, his wife's happiness.
So she's happy and he's naturally happy as a result.
Yes, and it's so interesting. It's our responsibility to be happy, but a husband takes responsibility for it. It's fascinating to me. The opposite wasn't true. You know, I think it's important that our husbands be happy, but it didn't ferret out much like it did for men.
That's
with
so
a happy
curious.
wife. Yeah, isn't that fascinating? So isn't that interesting? So women's happiness is important to us, it's important to them, it's important to marriage, so let's bring it on, right? And again, that responsibility really is innate. And I know happiness is maybe kind of a shorter version of what we're really talking about with meaning or a deepening of life, but do take responsibility for that. And every day try to do 3 things that fulfill you a bit. My new favorite is this selection of these delicious herbal teas I love. Or it might be a lifesaver between clients, or a piece of chocolate, or a favorite playlist, or a favorite conversation on the phone with a friend, or a podcast, or a spiritual reading, something that fulfills me. Because
but little things.
When we show up happy, well, it's all I have time for.
Well,
usually,
yeah,
right?
that's true. That's true.
Hair and nails some days, that's kind of nice, but that you can't do that on the daily. At least I cannot. But it's an intentionally happy wife magnetizes her husband, and we repel him when we're unhappy, miserable, and complaining. I'm sorry, that's just the facts.
Yeah.
I am so very much a believer in this that I've dedicated part of my marriage practice to seeing women only and just coaching them.
Because of their influence.
Yes, with the 6 intimacy skills.
Yeah.
It's powerful. It helped enhance my own marriage and many of the marriages I work with.
That's interesting. That's interesting and powerful. You believe women can be more respectful. In fact, I love this. You say respect is like oxygen to a man.
Yeah, it is indeed. And if we don't agree with him and his life choices, he's really a grown man, and that's okay. I thought I was being helpful when I made suggestions to Benny about what to wear, how to drive, how to talk on the phone, what text to leave. I found myself helpful. He found me controlling. So we really can't undo some of that male strength. We really want to enhance it. And maybe the favorite phrase that I have learned from a woman named Laura Doyle is when a man's trying to make a decision, and it really could go either way. He's really not asking for my opinion a lot, okay? He really isn't. He just wants to talk things out. I will say, you know, whatever you think, because I really do trust him to make the best decision for us, for the family, for himself. He's a grown man. I mean, how did he survive 50 years without me, right? Clearly, he was doing okay. So the Sprinter van may not be sold on my terms, but it will be sold on his terms. And whatever you think seems to preserve the intimacy, even if the vehicle is not sold when I would like it to be.
Yeah, what if that phrase, though, whatever you think, has, if you have repercussions from that? I mean, if you're, you know what I mean?
Well, sometimes it might be worth the loss of intimacy to say, oh, you know what, I can't keep
that
the Sprinter
boundary.
van.
Yeah.
So you've really got to know yourself, but so many times things really don't matter. Whatever you think on whichever cell phone plan, I trust you.
Whatever you think.
You know, whatever you think.
Yeah, and like you said, it can go both ways, but there is that respect that is shown and received when those words are said.
We can be so critical as women. We really are the self-home improvement team. We think our way is better. Sometimes naturally we do things differently, but I think we need to stop making fun of men that do things in a different way than we do.
Well said, well said. You say an intentional wife is deliberately receptive. What do you mean by that?
You know, receptivity is the essence of femininity. You know, the yin and the yang, that wonderful Eastern philosophy. The yin is feminine and it's receptive. The yang is masculine and it's giving. And if we're not able to allow our men to give to us, they're never really going to feel like our hero, and we're not going to feel taken care of, treasured, and adored. So when he comes to you and says, "Here, let me help you with that heavy box," we're certainly capable of carrying it up the stairs. But why should we? Why do we have to? Especially when it's going to be a win-win. He's going to feel like our hero, and then we're going to be able to say, "Oh, yes, please, thank you so much. That made my life so much easier right there." Men really do want to they want to win with us. They want to do well. And it can be so discouraging when we are unpleasable. And so many times we are unpleasable, no matter what they do. It's heartbreaking to me.
As you were talking, I found myself thinking, you know, these notions in our current modern day society, I think, tend to be dismissed as old-fashioned. However, they're so sensible. You know what I mean? The respect and the receptibility, like they're just sensible, good human practices. And as you apply them to marriage, you can see how powerful and enhancing they would be to that relationship.
They seem so basic. There's a lot to them. I really did think I was a respectful wife when I first got married, Brookie. Turns out, not so much. Not so much.
All right, finally, be purposeful in how you appreciate your spouse and try to find that appreciation point every day.
You know, it's probably the number one complaint I hear from husbands I work with. My wife doesn't appreciate what I do. So it's intentional gratitude. It's got magical powers. First off, it's a win-win because now I'm focusing on all the things I see that I love that he's doing, right? Whatever I focus on grows. And then he's feeling really good too, like, oh my gosh, she's really happy with me. I'm a really good man. And I'm the only one that can really do that for my husband, right? We're the only ones that can do that for our own spouses. So we really have magnificent powers if we just use them wisely.
I think this was a powerful conversation in that the question, am I an intentional wife, puts on the lens of purpose and enhances our ability to contribute in that role. But you've given us some really practical and tactile ways we can do that. Thank you so much,
You're so
Liz.
welcome. Thank you.
The intentional wife, we're celebrating her.